It's been like 2 months since I last uploaded a video. The whole world is freaking out about a deadly virus that could kill us all. Movies are getting cancelled left and right, and I'm just using all this newfound free time to talk shit about bad movies. Anyway, in my last video, at the very end, I asked if you could subscribe, and we managed to gain a whopping 1 subscriber, so if you happen to come across this video, you know what were the fucking odds in you finding this channel in the first place, so you might as well subscribe, just why not? And it means more to me than you'd probably ever realise. Anyway, now that that shit's over and done with, let's get right into making fun of a lifeless movie that exists for no reason other than to make as much money as humanly possible. The Secret Life of Pets 2 is probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. There's no real way of expressing how it manages to be so bad without just going through every scene in the movie and just analysing it and showing you how it fucks up so much. Because if for any reason you decide to sit down and watch this movie, you realise it's not bad because of certain things that it does wrong. It's bad because it literally does nothing for the entire runtime. I can assure you that if you decide to watch this movie more than once, for whatever reason, you will begin to develop suicidal thoughts. It's just that bad. You can't sit through it. It's actually insane how quickly I forgot everything that happened after I watched it for the first time though. Because when your movie is practically an hour and a half of filler, the little things that do happen are not going to stick in your fucking head. So in as much detail as I can possibly give, let's just run through what actually happens in this film. So in the first 40 seconds of the movie, we're reminded of the only successful thing Illumination Animation has ever done.
Minions.
Beloved by many. A lot of people unanimously agree that when it comes to filmmaking, the very first scene of the film is by far one of the most important. The first few minutes of a film give the audience a sense of what is about to come, and in most movies it acts as context, to make sure that people aren't confused by what happens in the rest of the movie. The first scene acts as a gateway for a world that we're yet to experience as an audience. But The Secret Life of Pets 2? Nah, it doesn't bother with that shit. It's a sequel, so who gives a fuck? Just slap in 4 minutes and 22 seconds of exposition, presented to us in a voiceover from the main character. What, this? Who even needs that? What even is this? Get the fuck out of here. But I think the most frustrating thing about this opening is that in this exposition, we learn that Max hates kids. Katie, Max's owner, gets a boyfriend. They get married. Then they have a child. So right there, we've learned like 4 things. And they've all just worked together to go against the first point, which is just great. Then we learn that the kid's name is Liam and that Max hates him, obviously, because children. It was never explained in the first movie why he hates kids. It's never explained why he hates kids. He just does because the story needs him to. Then Liam gets old enough to the point where he starts, like, showing love to the dogs, I guess? Like, he hugs them and shit. I don't know. And then Max starts to get affectionate towards Liam, starts caring about him. And then he realises how dangerous of a place New York City is. No shit. But then, of those 7 things that we learn in that opening exposition, how many of them do you think actually play a role in the rest of the movie? That's right, 2 of them. But that's not even the most annoying thing about them opening the movie in this way. The thing that really bugs me the most is that this short story that we were told in this way at the beginning of the film is more of a story than what happens in the rest of this movie. At this point in time, it might not seem like a lot happened in that opening bit, but once we go through the rest of the film, you'll quickly realise nothing happens. So why didn't they just make the story that we were just told the story of the movie, instead of making it in such a way that that stuff just needs to be told to us directly at the start of the film, and then the rest of the movie is just nothing? Or why didn't they have both? Why didn't they have the movie be the stuff that happened at the beginning and the shit that makes up this movie if you wanted to? You could easily fit it on the end of a film. This entire movie could easily just be like the final scene of a film. Yeah, it could be like the final scene of a movie, but instead it's the entire movie. Fuck. Bruh, this movie's shit. Like, the very next scene is a perfect example of how nothing happens in this movie. Because all that happens is the bunny gets put into a superhero costume, and then he pretends to fly, And then he just like says hi to a few of the characters, and then that's pretty much it. And then the cat has like the exact same joke from the first movie, where she like stretches and falls off something. I swear that was in the first one, and now they've just done it again. Was it really that funny to you? I didn't find it funny the first time. Then there's this really weird scene where Max has like a whole squad of people chase down Liam because he leaves the apartment with his dad for a bit. Like, there's no subtlety to his emotions at any point. Like, what's even the point? If a blind person can get the same experience out of a movie as I can, then there's no point in it being a movie. That takes the entire purpose of a movie out of the equation. Then there's a scene where Max goes to the vets because dogs hate the vets, and it's very funny. Like, literally all the scene does is just waste time. Like, he just goes there, sits down, and then there's a bunch of like freak show animals that are all like fucked in the head. The movie's just like, haha, mental illness, that's funny. Suffering from a mental illness makes you a freak, right? Isn't this hilarious? My voice cracked. I'm keeping it. Then when Max comes home from the vets, he has a cone on his head for whatever reason, because this is a comedy film, and Illumination Animation know a lot about how to make things funny. When Max comes back from the vet with the cone, can't stop laughing at that one. He learns that the family are going on a road trip.
I heard Chuck tell Liam that we're going on a trip.
Really? We're going in the car?
I'd say I don't know why they did this, but I know exactly why they did this. It's because it's easy to write a movie about a road trip. It's very fucking easy. Look up any movie about a holiday or a road trip or anything like that. They're just dog shit because it's super easy. Just be like, hey, people go on road trip, bad thing happens, they learn from it, then they come back home and everything's the same. It's like, it's the most basic, most standard thing you could do. And it's very uninspired that they decided to go with this. What am I on about? It's fucking Illumination Animation. They made Minions, for fuck's sake. Of course it's uninspired. For some reason they feel the need to have all the other characters from the last movie in this one. So they have a bunch of really shitty subplots going on at the same time, with just really bullshit stories. Like, for example, the small annoying female dog from the first movie spends this entire movie just looking after a ball because Max asked her to. I can't remember if this ball was in the first movie or not, I doubt it. But because Max says that it's important, it must be an important subplot that we need to keep cutting back to multiple times. And it's not to pad out the runtime. Then there's this shit joke that goes on for like 2 minutes straight, where the dogs just talk about how great being in the car is. Because dogs get excited when they go in the car, so you gotta have a scene about it, so that all the fucking Neanderthals watching can have a good old giggle. Dog-like car, this movie funny. And then we cut back to Gidget again, who's got the important role of looking after a ball for the entire movie. They try so desperately to pull a story out of thin air with this. Like, she loses the ball, and a bunch of cats take the ball from her, and then there's like a long ass fucking bit where like 50 cats fight over the ball because they all want it for some reason. So obviously this is going to get dragged on for the rest of the fucking film, because why not? Gotta have every single character doing something, or else... Or else what? Or else... Fuck this, who cares? I remember how the bunny is dressed up in a superhero costume now for this movie. Yeah, they tried to make a storyline out of that too. Because apparently he built up some sort of name for himself, even though all he does is just play pretend with his owner. And some random dog comes out of nowhere and asks for his help. So, like, not only does everyone know of his existence, they know exactly where to go to find him and ask for his help. But then there's a pretty cool bit of animation where it kind of reminds me of, like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something like that. But it serves no purpose other than to waste time, so who really gives a fuck? Random shit like this is the only reason they were able to convince anyone that this is a real movie instead of just filler for the entire thing, because it's kind of cool, I guess. Not only does this entire franchise work around ripping off Toy Story, but now they're ripping off Madagascar too, because the entire subplot here to do with the bunny is saving a mistreated animal from the circus. I swear that's the entire plot of Madagascar 3. Then it turns out this random road trip that Max was going on is actually them going to a farm for some reason. They're just staying at a farm now. I forgot to mention Duke was also there, but it's not really important considering he does nothing this entire movie. He just kind of stands around with Max and says a few things here and there. Then Max gets chased around by a turkey for a good few minutes. Oh my god, just fuck off. The amount of random things that happen in this movie just for no reason, it's starting to piss me off. Like, they always try to play it off as comedy, but it's just not funny and it doesn't work. Because it's that whole, like, lol random comedy that nobody actually laughs at. And it's just kind of bullshit thrown into the movie for no reason. Other than to pad the runtime. I feel like I'm going to be saying that a lot. But that's because that's what this entire movie is. It's just padding. But then we get to cut back to the amazing subplot about the ball. And how Gidget has to get it back from the cats. Who isn't excited to see where this subplot goes? So in order to get the ball back, Gidget is getting the cat, Chloe I think her name is, to teach her how to act like a cat so that she can sneak into the apartment full of cats and get the ball back without raising any suspicion, without getting attacked, pretty much. It's so dumb. Like, no one gives a fuck. I wish I could erase this fucking movie from my memory, Jesus Christ. Then we cut back to Max and he meets a dog named Rooster who's meant to be like the typical, like, old wise character with stubborn, outdated ways or some shit. And then we cut to the bunny. What? You wanted more from a scene than just dog meets dog? Too fucking bad, bitch. Go watch another movie. This movie doesn't deal with shit like that. We're cutting left and right all the fucking time. We don't give a shit what you want. But anyway, the bunny goes into the circus with the other dog, Daisy. They get chased around for like 5 minutes and then save the tiger. Who gives a fuck? The mistreated animal from the circus was a tiger. Did I mention that? I don't know if I mentioned that. Then they realise they have nowhere to keep the tiger after saving it, and they can't just abandon it, so they decide to go and meet another character from the last movie. Yay! 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 So they leave the tiger with the two-legged dog from the first movie, who has like a lot of kids in his apartment now. Just don't ask. But who gives a fuck about that? Because now we cut back to Gidget, who's going after the ball again. She sneaks around the apartment for a bit, and then gets caught right as she's about to get the ball or some shit. So they use a laser pointer to trick the cats into thinking she's like some fucking god or some shit, and they start worshipping her. I think there's meant to be some level of absurdist comedy or something. Who cares? Then back on the farm, Max somehow manages to break one of the fences and let a bunch of sheep loose. One of the baby lambs manages to escape into the woods. So now Max and Rooster have to go out into the woods to find the baby lamb thing. Then when they find him, he's like dangling off the edge of a cliff, because what else would you be doing in the woods? Then Max has to save him by using everything that he's learned to stop being such a massive pussy and take risks in life. Even though this entire movie he hasn't learned anything besides when he was told if you pretend to not be scared, then it helps you be less scared. That's not advice, that's just dumb. Meaning that everything that the main character has done leading up to this point is completely pointless, because he's reacting now exactly how he would have at the start of the movie. So there's no, like, sense of progression on the main character's behalf, so there's no point to the movie. Except making money, they seem to really want to do that. Then the bunny has to put the tiger into Max's apartment because he destroyed the old guy's apartment. I'm not sure why the bunny would do the same thing again, considering he just destroyed someone's apartment. Like, what's stopping the tiger from destroying Max's apartment while he's not home? But then we cut back to the farm and the family are packing up. Like, what the fuck? They've been there for like a day, or maybe 2 at the most, and they're leaving already? Who the fuck does that? Who goes on a road trip out of the city to then stay on a farm for like a night or 2, and then go back into the city like nothing happened? Nobody fucking does that. That makes no sense. The writers clearly just put no thought into what they were writing and whether or not it made any sense, because it just doesn't. But I think the most absurd thing that happens in this entire movie is when they go home, they somehow don't find the tiger that's hiding in their apartment. Like, everyone just goes to sleep, and Max is somehow the only one to find the tiger because he just happens to wake up as the bunny is taking the tiger out of the apartment. Like, how the fuck do you come home and not notice a giant tiger in your house? But then the tiger gets kidnapped, as well as Daisy, I think, also gets kidnapped. and then they go on a train for some reason. And then the bunny gets into a fight with a monkey because why not? Then Max gets pushed off the train, and you would think he'd be completely fucked at this point. What is he supposed to do? He's just fallen off a moving train. A small dog like that can't catch up with a car, never mind a fucking train. Oh wait, would you look at that? Somehow the fucking dog manages to catch up with a train. That makes sense. Was the train going 5 miles an hour or something? But then the villain of the film gets run over, he fucking gets game ended. Then the movie just ends with another 5-minute voiceover explaining what happened after the final scene, and then that's literally the entire movie. That was literally as much detail as I possibly could have gone in as well. If I wanted to, you can literally boil the story down to the main family go to a farm, spend 2 nights there at the most, and then come home. A bunny goes to the circus, saves a tiger, and the other dog tries to get a ball. And that's literally the entire movie summarized in 30 seconds. That's all that happens. How did they make a movie out of this? Who read the final script for this movie and thought, yeah, that's a good idea. That's perfect, let's make that. I don't even really know what else there is to say. This movie is actually nothing. How am I supposed to critique nothing? There are actually quite a few scenes that I left out and didn't even mention, purely because they're just scenes of animals doing nothing. This entire movie just seems to me like they interviewed people from their target demographic and then just based the movie off of their answers. So what did you like about our last movie? So what would you like to see more of in the sequel? Quick, write that down. Just before this whole virus thing happened, Illumination released a trailer for a new Minions movie, and it looks fucking terrible. How does a company based around making animated films have no idea how to make a good animated film? So in conclusion, Illumination deserve nothing short of bankruptcy, and if they don't start putting effort into the things that they create, then that will follow very shortly, in my opinion. No, it probably won't. It deserves to happen, but fucking children are dumb, so they're probably gonna keep buying Minions. Imagine unironically buying a Minion toy. You'd have to be brain damaged. Alright, so my camera just died on me. I feel like I've been rambling for a bit now anyway, so if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, why not? And eat shit, Illumination Animation.